All right, we are live. We
We
can
made
give
it.
it a few. We made it to another live. We can wait for some people. Oh, people are here. Well, welcome everybody to another live. Again with my friend Josh from the Old Path Traveler channel. If you saw our Colt live stream last week with Baron, thank you for watching that. We had a great time, and we're here to do it again tonight. Though we are going to talk about one of our other favorite subjects and brands. We're going to talk about Tisas. So, Josh, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me again, man.
Yep.
I'm, you
Yeah,
know,
dude.
it's just a lot of fun that,
Hold up. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I
good.
don't want to
Go ahead.
interrupt you, but I have to put this out here. Um,
There you go, twins.
I'm laughing because my wife goes, she's like, that's your doppelganger. Like, because we
I,
both play guitar. We love
yeah,
1911, all that kind of shit.
that you're not wrong. You're not
Yeah.
wrong. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. See a lot of my fellas in here. Yeah. But again, thank you for having me, man. I enjoy
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, I just have a few notes to sort of, get this going. We talked last time about Colt, and just we have this love for Colt, and also just massive disappointment for what they're doing right now. And
Yes.
we want to, as much as we can, especially with a small channel like mine, hopefully motivate some change. We would love for Colt to come back. And in that stream, we talked about T-Sauce, and anybody who watches my channel knows. I mean, I've said it before. I'm this close to getting a T-Sauce tramp stamp. I mean, I'm, I'm just a massive fan,
Yeah.
and so I want to talk just briefly, and you interrupt me, take it whatever way you want to go, but I want to talk about why, because it's like I think it's really important to answer that question. Why are these guns so good? Is it because they go bang? Well, I mean, so do high points. So my standard is not just that it fires, right? When we're talking about a weapon that is so steeped in our history, and we have it has to be right. Let's put it that way. And so I'm just got a few points of why I think T-Sauce are so good. One is the quality of the materials. I mean, you've got a forged frame and slide. You've got all forged machine parts, and they even advertise it in their box. You pull out the little card, and it says "hardened before machining."
Yes.
That is how you speak to 1911 guys. Like those guys like us and everybody in the chat, we pull out that card and just go, "Thank you, God." Like that's so good. Um,
Yes.
so that's the first thing. And if people don't really understand why that's important, shoot a lot and watch what happens. Cast parts, mem parts just don't last as long. You have a higher propensity for breakage. They're going to wear in faster. And really, I said it last time, put a file to them. The steel's softer. Now, does that mean your gun's going to blow up in like 20 minutes? No. Most people don't shoot enough to notice these things.
Yes.
But this is one of the big things for T-Sauce. So quality materials, build quality. You and I were just talking about this before we went live. We both, and several of my Patreons who are in the chat right now, all got the same gun you and I got, like the same week. We all bought a fresh one, right? And I'm seeing consistently the same story, that like the build quality on these is excellent. It's excellent. I mean, especially now, you're seeing hand tuning on a $320 pistol, right? I mean, the extractor is tuned. The relief cut on the sear is beautifully cut. The triggers are so crisp. Um, so yeah, quality of materials, quality of build, but this is a really big one. People hear us talk about like John Moses Browning spec, and that can be a little bit of a nebulous term for people who don't understand that. But the idea is John Moses, like 1911s to me, are John Moses Browning guns before they're Colt.
Yes.
Right? So Colt got that design from John Moses Browning. So I don't say Colt spec because that's moved over the years. Colt has changed things, right? They're a company. But when we talk about John Moses Browning spec, why does that matter? Well, first of all, if you want the truest 1911, you want the one that came from daddy's hands, right? Like that, we want the one that came from the man. So you get the true vibe, but also here's the real important part is, 1911s from their inception to now, they're built a certain way, and that way is proven. And if you want a true 1911, like, look, there's a lot of 1911s out there. I won't mention too many names, but let me put it this way: they are 1911 shaped pistols.
Yes.
They're not 1911s. And why do I say that? Well, because the parts are not interchangeable with what a real 1911 is. And so the one of the great benefits of having a properly spec'd gun is, one, the design's proven. And then two, I can buy parts and have with my Tisas guns that are littered about. They take Colt, Springfield, Wilson Combat, Ed Brown, EGW, all the best parts fit in these guns. You can't say that about other brands because they've skewed the spec to do their own thing, to be different, or maybe just to fit the machines they have. Who knows? But and then just to wrap all these up, and we're just scratching the surface here. These are just a few points. You get all that for like $300.
Yep.
Like nobody else can make those claims right now.
No.
No.
And I don't know if they're losing money. Some people are saying slave labor. Some people are saying, whatever it is, the dollar, the DVI, the difference in currency, all that kind of stuff. That being said, I personally really don't care what it is. All I know is I'm coming out roughly $350 out of pocket,
Yep.
and not $1350. You know what I'm saying? There's a big, huge jump. And then when you put them together, you're like, what? Like, why did, but I get the popularity. I get the let's not be confused here and think that legacy, like brand, doesn't mean anything to people, because it does. And you
100%.
have to build a brand. And Colt is in the fortunate position of having been around for how long now? 200 years, 152, whatever it is. I don't remember. Somebody, long time they've been around. And their American brand and all that other kind of stuff. Tisas been around maybe a decade, maybe. And the first couple of guns they were importing, I've heard, were not that great. And they came back, because they were
true.
right. So they came back full of MIM parts, cast parts, cheap. They tried to cheap out in the guns. And then apparently they hired some American competition shooters, like I think we talked about before. You said they live over there, and they were like, no, this is what you need to do. So they might actually be selling guns at a loss right now. I don't know. But there are companies that do that. That's a business plan. I remember when Amazon started, and I know, don't quote me on this, but I think they said that they figured they weren't going to turn a profit for like 8 years or something like that. And now look at them. Insane. Yep. So it's, I think I was speaking to one of our subscribers. He's subscribes to both of us, Ian. Yep. And I don't know if he's in the chat yet tonight, but he is from England. I said, it kind of reminds me. I said, Colt, and I know it's about Tisas, but it's in relation to Colt, because Colt is king. They were the first one. As a matter of fact, they were the first and only ones to make 1911s for decades before other commercial brands started to come in and say, hey, I want to make a copy of a 1911. Now they're prevalent. A lot of people don't know that. You just got a Colt. That was it. If you wanted a 1911 or a government model, as they called the civilian guns, same thing. The M1911 was the military designation, but Colt calls them the government models, but we all call them 1911s. If you wanted that, you had to get a Colt, because that's all there was.
Yep.
But when I was speaking to Ian, and like I said, being from England, I said, they remind me of Jaguar. If you look at an early Jaguar and the prestige that Jaguar had as a British motor car manufacturer, and these gorgeous Jaguars that used to come out. And then look at the disaster that they had last year with that pink Jaguar and the rebranding. I don't know if you knew about all that
I
kind of stuff.
saw it. That was
Okay.
gross. Yeah.
That was gross. That's what Colt is to me. You
Yeah.
have the single action army, the gun that won the West. Some people debate whether that's the Winchester rifle, but you had the single action army, you had the 1911, you had all these iconic, the M16s, the M4 pattern rifles, these iconic guns that Colt made. The Peacemaker, the Walker Colt, it go on and on and on, or I meant the what's the one with the drop trigger, having a brain fart right now.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The
Oh,
early gun, you cock the trigger and I would cock the hammer and the trigger would spring down.
before it was the predecessor to the 51 Navy. Yeah, I know what
Yes,
you're talking about.
yes. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Somebody
Yeah.
put it in the chat. And guys, thanks again for being here. I just want to say real quick, I'm struggling. I don't call out everybody's comments and all that kind of stuff because I'm trying to do this on my phone. I am attempting in the process of upgrading all my gear so we can address comments a little more. So I appreciate that. A 67 Camaro, yeah, same thing, right? Chevy used to make badass cars, and now, but
Right.
so I get the brand and the icon, and Tisas has to build that up. But let's talk about a few brands that have done that. We talked about before, Canic. When Canics were first coming in, they were like $150, $199 handguns.
Yep.
Now they have $1,000+ handguns with their Terran tactical competition, come in a case with a coin and all this kind of crazy stuff. I just saw one recently. They're $1,100, $1,200.
That's worth mentioning because let's not kid ourselves. Terran Tactical could shoot whatever the heck he wants.
Whatever he wants.
Like there's no mistaking that. Yeah, I'm sure in fact, I think I sent you one of these comments that I got the other day where there are these people who just merely by something not costing more than $1,000, they automatically discount it as crap.
Oh yeah.
And this is a very 1989 mentality, maybe 90s mentality, where they don't realize that like there are people leasing CNC machines in their garage, putting out world-class products. Like modern manufacturing has changed things. Literally, I know a guy who manufactures a part for a company. If they were to buy it from this other company overseas, they would get killed because that company's been buying it for forever. A guy that I know found out that he knows what they're buying it for, so he leased a CNC machine. He's selling the part to them for 75% of what they were paying, and he literally lives off of making a part. And so this is what I mean, though, is like people see that price tag and they go, oh, it's crap. And it's like, no, you don't understand. This is really smart. Here's the truth. You want to have some American pride? Here it is right here. These are really smart Americans who are realizing, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying they're smart.
It is what it is, right?
Right. They're going to another country where the exchange rate's different. Their currency is not worth as much as ours. So you get cheap labor. You bring over these machines that don't, people say, oh, this company bought Colt's old machines. No, they didn't. That's not happening anymore. Everything is CNC. They are not buying giant, steam powered rotary machines. And like
that's right.
Those days are past. So they send their CNC machines over. They train these people how to do this stuff, and they're getting a product that is excellent. And that's what a lot of, particularly, no offense, a lot of older folks don't have trouble making that adjustment that like, yes, cheap, especially in the past 10 years, cheap guns now can be excellent. And look, I'm one of those guys too, where 5 years ago, I was very, as hardcore as I am for Tisas now, I was that for Springfield. I was like, Springfield and Colt, don't talk to me about anything else. And I had people throw ATIs, the early Tisas guns. You remember when they made the Regent?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, those came my way, and I hated all of them because they were crap.
Yes.
Rock Island, I would put in that category too. I know I'm going to get, stoned for that, but But man, this Tisas came my way, and it opened my eyes. You know,
Yeah.
changed things for
Yeah.
sure. And that original one that I got, I'm probably 3,400 rounds through it. The thing runs like a Swiss watch. I mean, it's fantastic. And when I compare it to, Colts, like I haven't had to do really anything to it. I've refinished it 4 times just because it's fun. And,
Right. Yeah. And you're
um,
learning. And it's
yeah,
cheap enough to learn on. You're not gonna tear up some collectible Colt or something like that.
true.
But I think if people the cult fanatics, or what I call the cult of Colt,
Yep.
because they're just like Colt, 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 Colt. And I listen, I get it. I like Colt. I wouldn't have 13 of them, just 1911s, if I didn't like them. But I got to be 100% honest. I have to be. It's
Yeah.
almost, it's almost like, uh, again, a car analogy. Like if you really, especially older ones back in the 80s and 90s, if you really get into and you look at Ferraris and Lamborghinis, they're junk, bro. Their build quality is junk. And then you get into like what's that Lexus supercar they had, the LFA, that didn't hardly sell at all because people are like, ew, it's a Lexus. I'm not buying that. I want a
Yeah.
Ferrari. And everybody or every video I've ever seen or any of that type of stuff, they just said the LFA is just this amazingly built machine, just like that. What's the Honda one? The NSX, the newer NSX from a
Mm,
few years ago, pre-COVID and stuff. They had trouble selling those because they're like, who's gonna buy an Acura for $130,000? I want a
yeah.
Lamborghini, or a Ferrari or or like that. Um, but if you actually talk to the people, they're like, man, these things they're kind of trash compared to some other cars. But you're paying for the notoriety, you're paying for the name, stuff like that. But if you think Colt's the best, then what if Colt was the best? Why did some of these other these custom pistol makers improve on them? Now, a lot of them will. There are still a lot of old gunsmiths out there that will only work on Colt guns, only customized Colt guns. If they,
Yep.
as long as they don't make their own, like a Wilson Combat or an Ed Brown or Nighthawk or insert name here, Cabot. I think they kind of make their own guns. But for the gunsmiths that will customize 1911s, they'll say, I'm only doing Colts. I don't mess with any other. I've had too many problems with any other brands. I'm sticking to Colts because Colts frame, slide, and their barrels are all good steel, and they'll work on those. But
I used
if
to
they
think
were,
that.
yeah, that's what a lot of these gunsmiths think.
Yeah.
And then, but I would challenge them. I would love to get a hold of a very, esteemed professional gunsmith and go, hey, check this gun out, and to a comparable Colt, like maybe the classic and a Tisas comparable. Do the Rockwell hardness testing, do all the measurements, do
Yep.
your testing, do your shooting, and see which one legitimately comes out on top. Um, but there would be no need to improve those pistols if they were already the best there is.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah. No, I think look, it's no secret that, going back into the 80s, things started to take a turn for Colt. Um,
yeah,
and it's just been kind of an up and down story from then to now, which is why a lot of like the 50s, 60s, 70s Colts are so sought after, because like those are solid guns, particularly 70s. I'm a big fan of the 70s Mark IVs. And kind of going back to your point though, that like that there's a lot of gunsmiths or builders who won't work on anything but a Colt. I say Jason Burton's the only one who's said the quiet part out loud as to why. He was asked in an interview, why will you only work on Colts? And he's like, well, because if one of my guns is floating around out there on some, I don't remember the word he used, but I'm going to like paraphrase, riff raff gun, I don't want that attached to my name.
right,
And so it's not that Colt's good quality, it's pedigree. I would bet my salary it's the same reason for Nighthawk. Nighthawk has a package that they'll do on Colts. And it's a
Yes.
really nice package, right? With the cutoff hammer and the low carry beaver tail. They'll do the gold bead front sight and a really beautiful kind of smoky blue. Awesome package. But same thing. Does Nighthawk want to have their name associated with something that doesn't have the pedigree?
Right.
And for me, I'm just going to be really frank about it. All that's performative BS. All of that's pageantry. All of that's fake, because you're advertising a name to people that, if they're being intellectually honest, know that it's not what it was, but they still just want to believe that's what it is. And
Yes.
it's sort of like, you ever see you know political strategists, right? They'll be talking about things and they'll be like, well, yeah, if he says this, then people 30 and under are going to think this, and all the people 30 and under are watching going, oh yeah. And it's like, guys,
Yeah.
you're hearing the strategy against yourself, and you're just saying, yeah, I'll believe that when they say it.
Yeah, you're just
And it's like,
accepting it. Yeah.
right. It feels the
Yeah.
same with Colt, where it's like,
Yeah.
I have a hard time with the lack of objectivity, which is why I love you so much, because
Mhm.
I watch your videos and you're not cutting away when something goes wrong. You're going, look, feast your eyes. Here's the truth, right? And now, that said, I bought a Colt. I spent my own money for the pedigree, because I, like you, love that name. I love the history, and there's nothing like a Colt. But when it comes to this topic of Tisas, man, it's like, my respect for particularly gunsmiths, when I see them refuse to look this issue in the face and acknowledge uh, a good gun that's in front of them, my whatever respect they had, whatever integrity they might have had with me, is lit on fire, because it's like, look, I know it burns people that probably spent a lot of money on their Colt, and here comes this company that, let's just be honest, Tisas copied them perfectly,
Yes.
perfectly. And they're saying, hey, this looks like a Colt, it feels like a Colt, it's built better than a Colt, and it's a
It shoots
fraction of
like
the
a
price.
Colt. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get it, that burns.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't
But
not
we
tell the
we have
truth.
all said it before, meaning
Yeah.
you and Baron and I have discussed this before, I believe, in the last
Yep.
stream. We would be happy to pay. We would not be disappointed. We would not be concerned about getting a lemon and all that other kind of stuff. If we would pay for that Colt name gladly, if I could get a Colt, that a 1911 A1 U.S. Army reissue Colt that was built as good as the Tisas pistols that we just bought, I would pay $1,000 for that sucker, because it's a real
Easy.
Colt, an
Yeah.
American-made Colt, as long as it was built to the same standard. So basically, you're paying $600 to $700 more just for the name. But I would do it because it's American and because it would be good quality at that point.
100%. 100. And listen, that's why I bought the Colt, because I'm like, okay, I know Colt has some QC issues. I've heard some things, but I'm like, look, I know my way around these guns. I can pretty much fix any of those issues, right? No big deal. I can fix up a thumb safety, grip safety, trigger, whatever. We'll fix it. And obviously, you know the story. It showed up and it's
You
disastrous.
can't fix the barrel with no rifling.
Oh,
There's no fixing that.
yeah. I don't even know how you would begin to do that, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, that, and then the frame peening issue. Um, so, but I'm with you. It, like, look, if Colt came out, and we kind of said this last time, and they said, "Hey, it's a new day. We're releasing now our new line of pistols. These are the go-to-war guns that you grew up believing that's what they were." Today, right now, I'm moving money out of savings and I'm buying one today. Like, and I'll be honest, I was looking at Colts today, but I'm only looking at used ones anymore,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's too much of a risk with the way things are to buy one. And you know, I bought another T sauce, the same one you got. I released that video, I think Sunday. And that is, I think, the 11th one of that model that I have had come through my hands. They're consistent. They're so well done, and I see improvement. And I'm just like, man, sorry. Like, from a functional level, from like quality of build, quality materials, all that stuff, there's no competition.
No. And so in case anybody doesn't know, because I don't think I really explained this before. So what got me exposed to Tisas handguns was their Raider. I always liked, so I used to work for the Marine Corps when they picked up with what was the Colt M45A1, the Marsoc, sand
Yeah,
color, right, Colt. And I was like, oh yes.
that was a good day.
Good,
What
yeah.
was that?
And I
That was
never
like
had the money to
2012,
buy
right?
one. And now they're like, depending on, you get beat up ones for $3,000 or like new mint collector in the box for $10,000. I'm like, I'm not paying that much money.
Yeah.
So what does TSOS do? Again, brilliant. These Americans go, what are iconic? Bang, we release it. Raider. It's an exact copy or even better. So I'm like, oh, Raider. I buy one, right? Oh, who the fuck is TSOS? I don't know who these people are, So I buy it. I get it home and I'm like, wow, this, and I think I paid high sixes at the time, which now they're in the fours, but it's
Yeah.
funny because I dropped that video almost 3 years ago. People would be like, ha, you paid too much, idiot. They're 450, 500 now. And I'm like, look at the date on the video. I've had one of the first videos out there. I actually had the very first full length review on that Night Stalker
That's
from
cool.
TSOS, which was a fantastic pistol too. But I buy it and I'm like, for about $700, I was like, this is insane. This is insanely good. If this works, I take it out, I shoot it, I start doing research. Long story short, I think I'm up to 14 or 15 TSOS handguns products. Now, I don't have all those now. I think I only have about 5 of them. I sold a lot of them off to buy, to get money for other projects. It's, you know how it is. It's what
Yep.
happens in YouTube channels and stuff.
Indeed.
But I mean, I had the Stingray, the Service Special, the Bantam, the the Manta Ray, a bunch of all of them fantastic. Some of them had small little issues here and there, but as far as reliability and accuracy goes, not a problem. And some of them, that Service Special that I had, which is kind of a hodgepodge between like a military gun with slightly better sights and a commander hammer. It was kind of a
Those are cool.
weird, but they're cool. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I paid $229 for that gun. Insane.
Yep.
Insane. It had one of the best triggers ever. Right out of the box. And I know they all don't come that way, but it was just, and the more I started buying them, and then they came out with that, what's the nickel one I had that was 38 Super and 9.
Oh, the stakeout.
Yeah, maybe it was,
I think they
yeah.
make a
So,
stakeout in that caliber.
yeah, I think you're right. And they make the tanker one too.
Mhm.
And every time I would buy them, I didn't have to worry about them working or being good. I take them home, open the box. Sometimes there'd be small little issues. I don't really like, I've said this before, I don't really like the springs they use in the plunger
Yes.
tube springs. They're kind of weak. I buy the Wilson ones because they're heavier gauge wire and they're stiffer.
Mhm.
They really will tighten up that safety.
Yeah,
But they're all fantastic.
they
And
are.
for the price you pay, I just blown away.
Yeah, it's really so we should talk about that. Like where is T-Sauce getting it wrong? Because I do think there's a lot to criticize them on. And
Mhm.
I'm working on a video on this right now because look, I don't even know how many videos praising T-Sauce. Because they deserve it. They've earned that.
Yes.
But there are things they're still not great at. Like, so for instance, they're Cerakoted guns. They're having some buildup on small parts. I can tell they're in a rush. And that's okay. Look, like it's an easy problem for us to solve. I put out a video and man, I probably had 15, 20 people like, oh man, that fixed my problem. Like, just taking off a little built up Cerakote on the slide stop pin. So, there's that. Now going back to my 2024 Remington Rand copy, the way the T-Sauce guns were showing up is like it's a great base gun, but they still had some tuning that needed to be done. Like, you know, the extractors were kind of just thrown in. They were never really tuned, but again, no big deal. It takes 2 seconds. The triggers were, you know, they had some creep, some mush, which is no big deal. Relief cuts, the easiest thing to do, so not a problem. You know, as you said, the thumb safety sometimes was a little mushy, got some over travel. For me, I never really replace the springs. I just take them out and yank on them real hard.
That's it. Yeah, that works too.
Yeah, yeah. So you know, and I put out a video showing that where I was like, hey, this is what I do to all my new 1911s, no matter the brand. And it takes an hour of my time, and I walk away with a gun that is like awesome. Awesome. Well, now, you know, again, I'm really looking forward to your video. I want to hear your thoughts on what you got. But I put mine out Sunday of the 2025 Tisas guns.
Yeah.
They are now hand tuning these guns in a way that not even Colt is doing. So, for instance, my extractor, you can just look down the extractor, right? And you can see it's got a bow in it. Somebody has tuned this. And let me tell you, it was like really good. Now, I did have to profile the bottom left corner of the extractor a little bit. But again, no big deal.
I did that too, real quick, not to interrupt, but
Yeah,
I did that too. It was pretty good, but I did it just as a precautionary, just to help feed it. Like you said in your video, if you can slowly hand feed a cartridge in there, you're, you know, and just I wasn't having any issues with it. I did it after I filmed my video, so that's probably going to come out this Friday. I filmed it and I wanted to shoot the gun right out of the box and see how it worked out of the box, then go back and put like a 16-pound recoil spring in, just knock that slight edge off the bottom of the extractor, stuff like that. But you know, it didn't really need it, but kind of a peace of mind thing. And I think I did feel that it smoothed it out a little bit.
Well, yeah, I think it does, because the way and this is pretty much everybody, the way everybody's extractor comes, you have a hard 90 on top and you have a hard 90 on bottom.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if the extractor is a little loose, you never notice those corners. But when you actually tune the extractor and start pushing it in, that bottom left corner becomes a thing. And so for me personally, I round them all off, whether they need it or not, because they all end up needing it when you push that extractor over. But yeah, so now I got to say, though, this is a big deal. The recent Tisas that I got. So normally I go through and I spend about an hour and a half. Again, thumb safety, grip safety, trigger, everything, springs. And everybody on my channel knows. In fact, I've like thought about working on a shirt where it's like got my logo and then it just says springs, like, because
you should do that. It's pretty good. Yeah.
We talk about springs a lot. Yeah, that's even better.
With milk with the question mark. Yeah,
yes,
there you go. Do that
one. But this newest Tisas is the first one. This is all I've done to that gun. The extractor, that little corner, and the recoil spring. That gun showed up with a proper leaf spring, tuned perfectly. It needed nothing. The sear had the perfect relief cut on it. I mean, the trigger could not be improved. The reset was prominent. The thumb safety was perfect. That's the least I've ever done to a 1911 was this recent Tisas. That's how well, and I'm a very particular guy. Like, I'm not the guy that goes, it's good enough, and I kind of move on. I'm like, no, I know how to fix that. I'm going to fix that. Mm-hmm. And all I did was a recoil spring and work on that extractor corner. And to me, that's a huge deal, because in my almost 15 years of running this design, this gun, that's never been the case, ever. And so to me, that's, again, you go back to the price. For the price, nobody's doing that. Absolutely nobody.
Not even coming close. Not even coming. And you're looking at even Rock Island is still $500, $600, $700. Some of them close to $1,000. And I've owned I don't know how many, half a dozen Rock Islands in my life, and I'm here to tell you right now, Tisas is way better. Rock Island
Oh,
fans, I
yeah.
am sorry, they're way better, way better. I have one. I still have one. It's in the 22 TCM because I like that crazy little
That's a
cartridge.
cool cartridge.
It's cool, and they're the only ones that make it. So yeah, but and it's a high cap one. But I had to do a lot of work to that one. Even the followers in the magazines weren't rising high enough, so it wouldn't.
Mm,
Check this out. Here we go. This is what manufacturers will do. So my theory is they put a 9 millimeter follower in these double stack magazines. But with the 22 TCM, it's a little bit smaller. So they, of course, had to have the feed lips going. So the follower doesn't lift all the way like it should. So it
mm,
doesn't engage the slide stop enough to push it up. So what they did was they actually clipped the plunger tube spring to lighten it up so that it would just slightly bump the slide stop to lock it open. And of course, it was inconsistent, you know, opening, and the safety was just absolute mush. It was just
mm.
like, what is wrong with it? So I took it apart, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" You could physically see that they just clipped the. So as soon as I put a fresh Wilson in there, and then I took some sandpaper, sanded down the follower in the magazine so it lifts up, works like a charm. Works
That's
like a
funny.
charm. But they're just so lazy, and they're just like, they clip the spring, and then but that's how some of these companies will do stuff. Just get it out the door, you
I
know.
know.
Um, but having some people are like, I had nothing but problems with my T size. So how many did you buy? I bought one. Okay. Oh, well, I've had 14 or
Yep.
roughly, and their striker fire pistols are fantastic too.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah,
and
that's a good point you
not
just brought
had
up.
any major problems with them. Go ahead.
No, that's a great point you just brought up. The people that roll in my comments and try to say T-saws are trash, I've had nothing but trouble with mine. I just ask three questions. What springs are you using?
Mhm.
What mags are you using? What gun are you running? And what you find is they're running stock springs, which I'm going to die on this hill. Nobody gets that right. Um, the mags are hodgepodge almost always.
Yep.
And the this was a funny one. The other day, this guy's like, I got 4 T-sauce. The only one that was an actual John Moses Browning spec gun, he was using original springs and some, I don't even remember the name of the magazine he's using. And I'm going, okay, so here's your problem. The 1911 is a thinking man's gun. Okay. Now, people like to bring up the military, but look, the soldier was not the armorer of their own weapon. The
That's right.
military has armorers, they take care of their guns. You
Yes.
and I, we are the armorer of our own weapon, which means you can't be a Neanderthal and just want to do this. You actually have to understand the system, understand that, like, yeah, it's a 115-year-old gun and it requires a little bit of thought. And so you can't just, man, my guys are going to laugh at this, but I hate the whole out of the box. People like snatch it out of the box and shoot it. It's like, now look, T-Sauce is getting there. Okay, credit where credit's due, but like that's not a 1911. That they're
Right.
not that gun. And um, so yeah, I don't think I think when people claim to have problems, now again, does T-Sauce get it wrong? They do.
Mhm.
Um, I've had some people, I had one guy, he wrote a comment and I said, hey, email me some pictures of what you've got going on because what you're describing is wacko. Like, I don't understand what you're saying. And legit, like, something was going on with his slide stop where it, like, you have the plate and then you have the pin. It was like bent and there was no impact. He didn't do this. This was a manufacturing defect. And I said, hey, T-Sauce got this wrong. You need to email them.
Yes.
He emailed them. He got the gun. He sent it to them, got the gun back in less than 2 weeks. They took care of him and they cleaned up a bunch of other stuff. And he was raving. He's like, man, their customer service was awesome. So, and he didn't have to send it to Turkey. It went to Tennessee.
Yep.
They do that there. And so, yeah, for me, I personally own 4 T-Sauce guns. But this year alone, I have had 35 of them come through my hands, where it's like I've got one buddy, he bought 4 of them. I've got another buddy, he bought 2, because you get one and you're like, this is amazing, I need another one. Then I've had people send them to me, just like, asking for tune-ups or maybe parts mods or things like that. And so I have a very good sample size of current offerings. And I'm telling you, man, like for our Patreon, I did a video where I went through one of our Patreon guys' guns. He sent it to me to work on and just do a dress up on it and see if it's okay. I found like one little burr somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it would have even gotten in the way, but I want it to be proper, so I cleaned it up. And then a little Cerakote buildup. So I have a very good sample size of these guns, and they're remarkably good and consistent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just they don't I think one of their problems is, again, I know this sounds crazy, like but they don't charge enough, because like you were saying, people equate quality with how much money they're spending.
Oh,
So a
that's
lot of
a
people
fact.
don't realize. A guy in here said, "Rip Matt Stingray." That's why I had my watch channel. But let's go to watches, right? Like Rolex.
Mm.
Yeah, I paid. Hey, guys, like I got a Rolex. I paid $14,000 for.
Heck
Okay,
yeah.
a Casio, a $15. All right, digital watch. A digital Casio keeps better time than the Rolex.
Yeah.
It's just a fact of life. They just do. What is a watch's main function? Is to tell time. Let's
Yep.
face it. Now it's to flex on people, as the kids say, but it's to tell time. A watch is, you look at your wrist, you like, I could tell time. And that Casio technically does that job better for $15, and the battery lasts 10 years than the
Yes.
Rolex. But if you ask a crazy watch enthusiast, just like a crazy 1911 enthusiast or something like that, they're going, oh, I want the Rolex. All that Rolex, man, Rolex has done an amazing job
Yeah.
at marketing. You can go anywhere in the world and say Rolex, and they know exactly what you're talking about.
That's right.
They know exactly what you're talking about, and you're like, oh yeah. So I think some of that Colt, if it's either a Colt or it's a copy type of thing.
That's right.
Um, it's marketing, and people, like you said, you blow up their they want confirmation bias. Oh, I bought this Colt. Everybody told me buy Colt, and I bought a Colt. And please, when you're listening to me, you think I'm slamming on Colt. I'm criticizing them. I'm offering constructive criticism. That's what we're doing. We're not slamming on them. We're offering constructive criticism and saying, hey, can you bring back the Colt of old, the Colt of glory days? Please take my money. I want to
Yeah.
give you my money, and I want a fantastically beautiful handgun in return. But when I give you my money, I buy this Colt, and I'm like, and I know what I'm looking at. That's the problem. That's what I think. This is kind of what. Let me go back and kind of switch a little bit, because now I'm remembering what I want to say. When you say out of the box, unfortunately, most gun people don't have the G2 and the 1911 that you and I have. A lot of us do, especially our fans and our subscribers and stuff like that. They do. But most people, we've talked about this before, about 80% of the gun community or gun owners are out of the box, like you said, trigger
Yep.
bashers. You said it before. It's a certain YouTube channel that will remain nameless that did a couple of burn downs or whatever on some Tisas handguns. And let's frankly, I'm not trying to insult the dude, but he's a trigger basher. He just takes
Yeah.
it out there, puts bullets in it, and shoots it. Blah, 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 blah. And just like you said, the 1911, that's not that. Yes, I know it should be, because the company delivers you a finished product and says, here is our handgun. All you should have to do is load it with bullets and shoot it, and it should work. If you want that, get a Glock. If you want what do they call the lightsaber, a more civilized weapon for whatever they say in Star Wars.
Yeah, more elegant weapon for a more civilized age.
There
That's
you
right.
go. Exactly. That's what a 1911 is. A
Yeah,
1911 is the lightsaber
it
of the
is.
gun world.
Yeah.
And it really does take somebody that understands a lot of the inner workings of the pistol and what's going on and how to diagnose if there's certain issues and yada yada. And you and I have both gone over different magazine styles. And I watched a live stream with Jolly, is his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, where you
He's
guys were
awesome.
talking about the magazines, and
Yes.
I did a similar video where if a wad cutters where it's releasing the bullets sooner or later, and
Yep.
different follower profiles and springs and mag bodies and all that kind of stuff. If you buy a Glock mag from Glock, it's a Glock mag and it's going to go in a Glock. I
Yep.
think so I get that. But so sometimes I do those videos out of the box, but what I do is because people are like, did you even clean it? I don't technically do it out of the box because I will film a unboxing of a brand new gun when I get it home. This is my process. I'll film the unboxing. Then between the time that I take it, the unboxing's done and I take it out to shoot, which is sometimes not the same day. If it's
Yeah.
raining, I mean, let's remember, you can do the inside tabletop stuff, the close-up stuff, no matter what weather it is or whatever. Sometimes it'll be that same day. Sometimes I can't get out there and it'll be 2, 3 days, a week, whatever. Sometimes it'll be months.
Yep.
But I will tear it apart, wipe down machining oil, grease, packing grease, whatever, clean it, add some lubricant, do stuff like that, and then go out and shoot it. Because I think that's, a lot of gun companies will say, hey, wipe the packing oil off of machine oil.
I
Go
was
out
just
there
going to say that.
and
Yeah,
shoot it.
most manuals say that.
Yes.
They're like, you should clean it before, because look, I mean, these guns might sit on a shelf for months.
Yes.
And what they can't have happen from a business perspective is that gun come back and being full of rust, especially when you're talking about nice blued guns, right? So they're coating them in something that's not a lubricant for shooting. It's a protective agent so that it
Yes.
stays nice and they can sell it, and then it's out of their hair. So yeah, I'm totally with you there. And but the other thing, which by the way, I have to mention, I was watching some of the comments as you were speaking there.
Go ahead. Hey,
Um,
hey, call them out if you can. If you see something you want to say it,
yeah,
tell me to highlight it again, guys. I'm working off this small phone, so you'll see my finger up here trying to hit some of these comments. So when they're rolling by, I can't keep up with them all the time. You're doing it on your computer, right?
I am.
So,
Yeah,
so you probably got a better perspective until I get
yeah.
my, if you want to call out a comment, say, hey, and I'll highlight it for you and stuff like that. And real quick before we start, I want to say there's 4 people that I don't understand this starring thing, but I appreciate what it is. It says $4.99 super sticker. That's awesome. Thank you for everybody that did. That's freaking fantastic. And I want to highlight your guys' comments at least.
Yeah.
So
This is a good comment right here. Yeah. So I remember when Obama was president.
mhm.
I think it was his first term, almost positive. I remember going to a gun show, and this is the last gun show I went to. That's how long it's been since I've gone to a gun show. Um, it's not my vibe, but
Not anymore.
no. There was a guy, and he had his like 4 or 5 fold-out tables, and they were stacked 3 high, these wooden crates, and there was like hay sticking out of the wooden crates, and I'm like, is this guy selling RPGs or what? Like, what is this? Crack them open, they're Romanian AKs, $250, and they're solid, right? Now, back then, I thought they'll always be that price. Well,
Yep.
now, of course, same thing with land, right? I mean, 15 years ago, boy, the land I wish I would have bought.
Yep.
So yeah, this is absolutely
No,
it's
this is a fantastic comment because I am well aware of this. Because if you guys, I think it was last Friday or Friday, yeah, maybe last Friday, I dropped an AK video on my 2 Norinco 84Ss. Now, when those started coming in, they were Chinese junk. Norinco AKs were that's what people would say about them. Chinese junk. I'm not buying that. AR-15s, $1,000, and M16s, Chinese junk AKs, $300, $250, $300, just like you said, right? These are blued guns, chrome line barrels, fantastic steel. What a lot of people didn't know is these were made in their military arsenals. They're not civilian made AKs like the American AK market, getting sidetracked here off of the Tisas thing, but
no, it's good.
it kind of, it ties in. But the American AK market is struggling because they're having to like backward engineer and do a lot of stuff in the metallurgy, and they're making them cheap enough to try to. It's a whole thing that we could do another live stream on. But at the time, those were like people dismissed them, just like you said. Oh, they'll be that price because they're junky AKs. Nobody cares about them. What they didn't know was they were made in wartime, in fact, like legitimate military arsenals in China,
Yes.
and they are fantastically made guns. Well, now the one I bought that was the collector one. I want to say it was around $2,300.
Easy. Yeah.
Easy. Yeah, I think it was around that price. Now the other one I bought, which a whole nother thing, it's got some headspace issues. I got to get that fixed, but it was cheaper. I didn't know it had that at the time, but it was a little bit cheaper and stuff like this. But they hover around 2K, and that's the case for a lot of these older AKs now. The script is flipped on this, where AR-15s are dirt cheap.
Oh man.
Dirt, you can get a PSA dirt cheap.
I was just looking at PSA today. A complete rifle, $350.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I always repost it and say, you have no excuse to not have a rifle anymore. Like, you can literally go deliver pizzas for a weekend in conjunction to your current job, and then go buy a rifle. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So no, I'm all about it, man. I love AKs. I've only owned a couple of them. Currently, don't own one now. But I do love them.
I love them, but they've become and then with the ammo issues, they've become a boutique rifle, and
That's why I got out of it.
Yes, unless you got a little extra money or you really love AKs, I would in America I would stay away from and go for AR-15 all day long, all day long. The support's there,
The one that I was really looking at, and I know it's an abomination, but I don't care. Was the Palmetto 5.56 chambered, but it doesn't use the AR mags. It actually uses the rocking AK mags, and they're like,
it's not an abomination. A lot of people, you'll still hear AK purists just piss themselves online over that. But a lot of people are getting it because 5.45 is insanely expensive. 7.62 by 39 is expensive. So now, because they want to shoot AKs, I lost count, but I think I have more than 10 chambered in 5.56, and they're all rock and lock. And they're fantastic. I love them. They shoot beautifully. Okay, AK purist, I don't care. I have the 5.45 ones too. I have 7.62 by 39 ones too. But the 5.56 ones just shoot so smooth. The only issue with them is since there's not a TDP or a standard that, because the standard came out of Russia and everybody kind of followed that for the 47 and the 74. There's no real standard for the 5.56, so you'll get slightly different dimensions from the Polish ones to the Bulgarian ones to the American ones. So sometimes all the mags won't work, and you gotta I like a 1911 kind of. You have to kind of see which mags will fit and maybe adjust them and all sorts of kind of crazy stuff. But to get back to the pistols, I wanted to talk about, because I will forget stuff if I don't say it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of modern day new shooters are spoiled by Glock. I remember a day before Glocks and stuff like that, where you pretty much had like a Browning high power, a Walther P38, a 1911. If you wanted an automatic pistol, let's not forget, cops carried revolvers well into the 80s because auto pistols were really just not that reliable. When Glock came out, they were like, oh my God, it's totally reliable. You can just run thousands of rounds through them, which I think has to do with a lot of combination of things. People that were in the military using worn out old 1911s. Colt also had a struggle session in the 70s, apparently, from what a lot of these old heads would tell me coming up, that they said that in the 70s you would buy a Colt and did not even fire it, just take it right to the gunsmith so they could get it just to run. That's how bad, because they were having like union issues and they were bringing in, temporary workers and all that kind of stuff. So,
well, and keep in mind too that in the 80s they were using World War II era guns.
Yes,
like they weren't buying new Colts; those were all carryovers. And so look,
I just watched Gun Jesus 1911 A1 video he did about a year ago, maybe 6 months, 8 months, whatever it was. I just watched it today. It popped in my feed. I'm like, oh, let me watch this again. And he said it like, There was about 1.9 million military 1911s made. And after 1945, at the end of the war, they cut them all off, and they used those same guns for the next 4 decades
It's wild.
before they replaced with the Beretta.
Yeah,
So
and the
you know,
Berettas, it's kind of the same story. Like, which Crack, he was both in the Marines and the Army. I think I'm saying that right. So Crack, correct me if I'm wrong. But we were talking about like how I just noticed this thing. Like, look, I was raised by a Marine, and you know, um, Marines seem to have a very favorable impression of the M9.
yeah,
Army guys hate it. And Crack pointed out, he's like, it's because Army guys don't maintain their crap. And like Marines, you get smoked if you don't maintain your stuff, right?
yes,
And I think it's the same with 1911s, though, where it's like, yeah, shooting some ragged out thing that's barely hanging on, where it's like it's drifting its own pins out as you fire.
yes, yes.
Yeah, of course you don't like it. Of course it's junk. Totally understandable. Totally understandable.
Well, so Crack and I have something. I was in the Army. I was on tanks, and we
Mm,
carried the M9s. So I went in '92, which was 7 years after they adopted it. But some of the old heads that were in, a lot of people think, okay, they adopted the Beretta 85, boom, 85, they started getting Berettas. That's not the way it works. Sometimes it takes 3 to 5 years to get
mm,
to get the forces to every 19, in this case, 1911's old pistol brought back in, and they get the new ones, and they usually trade them out. What they usually do is they have to have all the armors go through, inventory all the pistols, which they inventory them anyway, because if you lose a pistol, you're going to jail, or a weapon, a controlled item, they call it.
mm.
It's in the arms room. So they'll go through their inventory, they have their inventory, and they'll say, okay, well, we have, let's say in my tank company, I don't even know how many, 60, 80 guys. They'll say, okay, we have 90 Berettas or 90 1911s. We're going to get 90 Berettas in. And then they'll bring in the Berettas, they'll do all the inventory, they'll change them out, they'll turn in the 1911s. Those guys will take those away. And you have to do that. They only have a certain number of teams. It's not like they just mail them, like, here's your Beretta. So they have to go around to all the Army bases, overseas, everywhere around the world. Same thing with Marines and all that other kind of stuff. So it takes years to integrate that whole system.
Mm.
And then it takes even more as they shoot them more, they start discovering problems, and hence like what we have with our pistol nowadays that the Army and the military has. But they'll find problems. So a lot of times they won't. I remember being in Germany. That was my first duty station, and we had these old storage rooms. They still had old 1911 magazines in there, and
Wow.
Vietnam era body armor, and the not the body armor, the frag vests and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it takes years. So they didn't get it just at 85, but you're correct. The military, let me give you an example. Military weapons aren't usually maintained the best.
Mm.
You will maintain your firearms much better than because you paid your money for it.
Yeah.
It's your personal weapon. It's you'll take care of it. They don't. They don't care. So I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember the recoil springs ever being changed on any of our Berettas.
Yeah.
Locking blocks, not unless it completely failed. Finish was gone off of all those
Yeah.
suckers. Then there was the thing where Beretta actually won a lawsuit against the U.S. government because they ignored. They bought cheap magazines from a company that phosphated them, which made sand and stuff attract and stick in the and didn't work, and they blamed it on the guns. And so it was this whole crazy thing. But yes, military weapons are not maintained properly, and that goes for the 1911 too, especially being again. Now they had some of them that were arsenal refinished and refurbished. I think Ian said in like the 60s, 50s, 60s, something like that. But still, you're working with at that point inferior steels,
Yeah.
and they're just wore out.
Yep. Yeah. It really does, man. Like it makes a difference. And I had a buddy who was in the Army, and he was one of those guys who had he was like, oh, I hate those Berettas, man. And I have one, and and he's like,
Love them.
this is like a custom shop or something. I'm like, no,
No,
that's just not been the village bicycle for 25 years, man.
that
Like,
right there, dude.
yeah.
You know how many times I drop or I'm climbing in and out of a tank. We used to wear them in a shoulder holster.
Yeah.
And so the grip is getting, it's aluminum frame. It's getting hit on I'm climbing out of the hatch and bang, it's getting knocked and I'm climbing in. Bang, it's getting knocked all around. You take it off. When you have to run and take a crap, you're running, you're ripping it off, and you dump it on the ground, and it's right there in
Yeah.
front of you, but you dump it on the ground. You don't care. It's not your gun. Like you
Yeah.
said, and you're 18. I was 18 years old. I just didn't, you don't
Yeah.
care. And so I really never had, honestly, I never really had any issues with my Berettas in the military. I've seen plenty of them in my unit that had issues. And they got the bad rap from not being maintained properly. Then you
Yeah.
get out and get one and you're like, this is a finely made Italian machine.
Yeah.
I don't even know, 5, 6, maybe more,
Yeah.
90 series guns. They're fantastic. They're on ball bearings to slide so smooth.
Oh, they're
I
great, man.
love Berettas. I love
My
them.
my only complaint about the M9s, and I do love them, man.
Mhm.
I'll tell you the story one day of the one I have. It's very sentimental, but you know, the recoil's just funny. I'm not saying the recoil's like intense. It's not intense. It's just weird. And the reason is you have this big fat slide. Like, I don't know if you've ever taken calipers to just like how thick the slide is.
Oh yeah.
It's like, why is this so thick? Like, so you have this giant thick slide on an aluminum frame. And so all of your recoil is just it's a little out of balance. And I always find that the muzzle climb on those is a lot harder to control than something
Mhm.
that's made of all steel. But overall, though, man, I love them. I mean, the trigger on mine, the single action trigger, is
Oh, they're
superb.
fantastic.
Yeah, I love them.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
But getting back to Tisas because we got
Yeah,
sidetracked, but that's okay too because hey, the conversation is fantastic.
yeah.
But Tisas, in case people didn't know, they also make a bunch of other brands. I just looked it up the other day. They have Mac, which is Military Armament Corporation, which they bought. It was a defunct name, which from the guy that made the Mac 10s back in the 80s.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You would be surprised about how many Inglis they bought. Inglis,
Yeah.
Inland, modern day Inland is not the Inland from the past. There's a lot of companies that go out of business and their name sits out there and somebody will buy it, grab it, and then reissue guns. In this case, guns
Hmm.
under that name, and it's not the same name. Ivor Johnson. Ivor Johnson is out there. They are definitely not the same Ivor Johnson from back.
No, no,
Yeah.
they're
They
not.
um but so they own Tokarev USA, they own Mac, they own Spandau Arms, they own Inglis, they own a bunch of TSOS, so they own a bunch of or make stuff for them. I have that Mac JSOC 1911, and I challenge anybody to put a Springfield or a Kimber or any one of those other ones up. It is a fantastic gun. It is
Yeah,
fantastic in fit, finish, build quality, price. It is fantastic.
that's cool. Yeah, I haven't gotten my hands on one of those yet, but man, like, um, so I've been into like the Musoc builds for a long time.
Cool.
I just think they're such a cool gun, and I think the history of those just kind of grabbed me early
Mhm.
on, and now to see those coming out, and I can never remember the name of the guy. There's a guy who sells like old school Musoc parts to where you can do your own build, and I think he just even builds whole guns. It's expensive. Like, you're going to spend $800 on parts just to like outfit a Springfield for the Musoc build. Whereas now I mean, what those are what, $800, $750?
Somewhere around there. Yeah. I bet if you
Yeah,
wait for a PSA Thanksgiving Christmas sale or
that's
something, they'll
right.
knock a couple $100 off.
I'm telling you, man. So now, do you have the roll marks? No, and I know, man, the roll marks, they mean a lot to all of us, understandably. But still, I mean, those guns are they look right. I mean, the front sight looks correct. They got the safeties right. Like, they did a great job. Really good job.
Yeah. I saw an interview with I don't remember the guy's name of the SDS imports guys, and he talked about that hardening before and how
Mhm.
if the hardening process isn't done right, he's like, now it costs more because it wears out The reason a lot of, just to give you an insight, at least according to this gentleman, of why companies will do that is they'll get the block of steel and then they'll mill it out because it's softer. Then
Yeah.
they'll heat treat it afterwards because it saves bits. They might be, and I'm just throwing a number out there, but let's say they are able to get 100 frames cut on, it's probably more, but let's say they're able to get 100 cut without heat treating it before they have to replace the bit.
Yep.
But the problem is if you don't heat treat it correctly, it can warp, it can throw stuff out of spec, it can do all kinds of stuff. Whereas if you heat treat it ahead of time, they might only get half that number. And those
Yep.
bits ain't cheap. That's not stuff you're picking up at Home Depot or something like that for these
Yep.
CNC machines and all that kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah, this
so
is that is absolutely in my wheelhouse because I've done CNC work in a sheet metal factory, and so a lot of these companies they design their machines to be very proprietary, to where it's like, oh, you need new heads, you got to
oh,
buy from us, right?
right.
Like,
Yeah.
and so you're absolutely right. Like they'll make custom fittings to where the entire head unit locks into this thing, and then the way it's constructed, like so for me, I used like plasma and CNC cut tables, like that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. And yeah, you can't just slap in any old thing. Like you got to buy their stuff. And it is true that yeah, it's much harder to machine that steel. You're going to burn through a pile of bits. Doesn't matter how nice they are. Um, you're not going to get far, right? They're going to wear out. But it makes a difference. In fact, this is, people should really, they should care about this if they want a quality gun, because one of my Patreons did some investigative journalism on Rock Island, and he got in writing from them that, because I have a lot of people coping really hard on one of my videos where I'm basically saying, look, guys, I'm not trying to be a jerk, okay? Rock Islands work. Full credit, they work, but they're a funky spec. They don't look quite right. They're kind of
No, you
junk.
don't.
They're kind of junky.
Yes.
They're just. I'm just being honest. But I had a lot of people saying, no, they're forged frames and slides. I got it in writing from them that the frames are not only cast but spot hardened. Like that's a big deal right there. And this is why, kind of going back to the Tisas thing, man. Um, you're getting quality. You're getting
That's what
quality.
they used to do for the World War II guns to speed up manufacturing. And you'll
Yep.
see they'll harden the front, they'll harden, like you said, the breech bolt area, what they'll harden around the slide stop, and you can
Yep.
see that the darker spots. Now, a lot of times I read that they would polish that off, but some guns would just go out the door. They didn't care.
Oh,
But you
when
got
they
to
got in the
understand with,
40s, yeah,
yeah,
no, yeah,
the wartime guns, you got to figure they're not going to put 50,000 rounds to these things.
no,
With a handgun, especially a handgun being so low on the totem pole of weapons and
yeah,
and relegated to like officers, pilots, artillery crews, truck drivers, MPs, stuff like that. They might shoot, you know, a couple hundred rounds for the time that they're in the army, if that.
yeah,
Probably not. They'll probably have their two spare mags, and one of the guns will have 21 rounds of 45 hardball back in the day, and they might never fire a shot out of that sucker the entire war, you
yep,
know. So, which is why they were so worn out after the war when they were continued to be used. But that was for wartime production expediency. That's what
yep,
that was for. The commercial guns, to my understanding, weren't built like that, especially after the war.
yeah,
Colt, built them properly. But there's a whole thing with where, like you said, you work in the industry, you work with CNC machines. Those things they're magical. They're
yep,
fantastic at what they can do and the cuts and the little parts they can make and all this other kind of stuff. So I don't. I think TSUS is showing us that a gunsmith, the old school guys that worked for Colt for like 40 years, and they had their bifocals and they would fit
hmm
those guys, they would fit the pythons and all that other kind of stuff. Those guys are all dead and gone or
yep,
retired and have been replaced by machines. But I also heard this just reminded me, the SDS guys on Tisas. The SDS guys, I don't know if this is true. I'd like to find out, but they said that they will ship the guns to the States and then they will have qualified gunsmiths go over the guns in the States. Now, I don't know if they go over all of them. I don't know if they pick a sample size of a few. I don't know how many guns they're importing. So it to me, you would have to have a team of a bunch of gunsmiths to be able to go through every pistol. But that's what I saw in an interview with the guy. That's what he said. He said they'll come to the if I'm not mistaken, they'll come to the States, to Tennessee, and they will be gone over by American hands, a gunsmith. Maybe they have people that go over them, and if they find something, it goes to a head gunsmith if it needs to be repaired.
Well,
I don't know. But whatever they're doing, it works.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So using a good example like Paul Reed Smith, these guitars right here.
Yes.
They do very much the same thing. And here's why this is not uncommon anymore. 20, 30 years ago, shipping something overseas was a bit of an operation, right? Not to go down that rabbit hole, but it wasn't as cheap as it is now. Now, man, like it is shockingly, like I sent a guy a part in Sweden a few weeks ago for $12. Like, listen,
that's insane.
it's bananas. Now, granted, it was a very small part, but still, like,
right.
So anyway, this company, Paul Reed Smith, these are their American guitars, right? But they make some in Indonesia.
The SE model?
That's right. The SEs, yeah.
SE model. Yeah.
Which are fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic guitars. And what they do is they go through their factory, they're put together, they have all their QCs there at that factory, but then they go to the Paul Reed Smith factory in Maryland, and they have a team of 2 guys, and they do factory tours. There's a room full of guitars, and those guys go through and they're going to QC, they're going to do setup, they're going to check for fret sprout, they're going to, do the whole thing. And the reason their guitars are being turned out at such quality is exactly what you just said. And I would bet money that's what Tisas is doing. Where, look, how many pistols can you put in a Connex box and ship to the U.S.? In a 40-foot Connex, like thousands. Yeah. And so it would make perfect sense that they're being shipped over, and they've got 2 or 3 guys, and it's like, okay, we got 2 weeks to get through this load. Let's start cranking. And they're going through, they're tuning, they're checking, and of course they miss things. It's fine. But this paradigm is not just in the gun world; it's in other worlds, and I think they all learn from each other. And this is a common thing. Not just I've heard this in furniture industries. I've heard this in tech. Gets made overseas, QC'd in the U.S. You get a fine product. So yeah,
it's funny to talk about guitars. Ibanez was the same thing, all made in Japan in the 80s and 90s. Fantastic guitars.
Yeah.
Then they had to make them in Korea, and they struggled a bit, and then Indonesia, and here and there, and wherever. And now I think they're made in Indonesia. Same thing. They'll get checked out. But now, if you want they'll do limited runs of made in Japan Ibanez, and they're like thousands and thousands of dollars more than. So same type of stuff. I think the totally American made Paul Reed Smiths are way more money than, but you are still getting a fantastic guitar in the SC model and stuff like that.
Another one you just reminded me of was Winchester. Winchester's making their stuff in Japan, gets sent here to Utah, gets QC'd, gets shipped out. And man, my 1892 is
made by Morocco in Japan. Yes. Oh, mine is fantastic. It's gorgeous.
It's one of the finest guns I own.
Yes.
It is beautiful. Beautiful. I did want to turn over to one of these some of these comments here. I know which one you're going to pick.
Which one?
I was wondering if you saw it. The freaking Crackmeister again. So there it is. Larry Dutry said Palmetto has the Raider for $449.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, look, here's the deal. When I first started out, if you wanted a forged frame and slide and barrel quality built 1911 with a rail with like premium features, you were going to have to spend the money on a loaded. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
He's never
I
going to
will
live
not
that
be
down.
discussing that because, what's his name? Eli got banned for that, so we'll stay on
Yeah.
it. Banned from SHOT Show because of that. So,
I might wear that as a mark of pride. Now, look, I love
yes,
Glock. I love Glock. They're fantastic,
me
but
too. Yeah,
I don't think she's ever going to escape that. So,
no,
um, but yeah, no, back in the day though, man, you used to have to buy a Springfield operator
yes,
and you're going to pay, over $1,000 and they were
yeah,
great. I owned two of them. They were, what a good gun. But, that Raider you have, like, man, um, I would absolutely put that up against those M45s Colt was shipping out.
100%. I also have
Yeah.
it's called the B45, I think. Same exact gun,
Yes.
just stainless, and it's fantastic.
Mm,
It's fantastic. I mean, you can't argue with it. And you're 100% right. That was pretty much the only game in town. If you wanted railed 1911,
yep.
and now it's almost a um, necessity in a lot of people's eyes to have a handgun with a rail so they can
Hmm.
put a light and to put a dot on it.
Yep.
Um, I'm still in the camp of I think it's blasphemy to put a dot on a 1911, but on a single stack standard 1911. But
Yes. Yes.
I
I
get
mean,
it.
Matt, I don't
Not
even like freaking three dots. I mean, I'm still using, I like GI, you know,
Yep, the little speed bumps.
yeah,
Yeah,
I love them, man. I
yep.
love them. And no, but it's true. Like, there's a lot of guys who, you know, feel like they need that. And like, I don't know if you remember the Long Beach operator used to be, it was like a limited run for Springfield because they had the MC operator, the Marine
Hmm.
Corps operator, right?
Yes,
Which was like the green frame and all that. I had
yes,
a couple of
yes.
those. Those were great. But then they had the Long Beach operator,
Hmm.
which was just all black. And basically, I think they only did a limited run because it was basically competing with the TRP.
Yeah,
Um,
and you can't have that.
yeah, but those are solid guns, man. Baron's
Yeah.
here.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, he's in the comments. Hey, buddy.
We, I don't
Baron's
want
one
to
of the
miss
good
this.
ones.
Absolutely.
Man, a lot of these.
Somebody put a comment in here about Kimber earlier.
Yes, yeah, I saw that.
We've discussed Kimber before, and I'm telling you, Kimber is on their redemption arc. That's the best way I think we've all agreed. You and I
Yeah,
am Baron. Like in the
I have
last,
sample size of one,
yeah.
so I can't. I can speak to what my one gun, but
Mhm.
I would love. I would love for you guys, if Baron has more exposure, I'd love to hear you guys talk about that because, look, I'm just a fan of good guns. I don't really care who's making them.
Yeah,
Um, I don't care if they're fueling the fires with puppies to forge those things. Like, I just want a good gun, okay?
that's right. That's
And
right.
but Kimber is, you know, I think they are in their redemption arc for sure. It's a great way to put it. I love mine. It's one of
Yeah.
the finest shooting guns that I have. Um, I see Jolly Roger super chatted. He's another one you want to talk to. He's one of my mods and really super knowledgeable guy with
Thank
the
you for that, Jolly
1911.
Roger. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, he's a great guy. We've become fast friends, and we have the same taste in 1911s. So I think we dream the same dreams with these guns.
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
yeah,
I honestly believe Tisas' biggest hurdle right now is building that name brand.
yeah,
Um, we said it before when we were talking about Colt. If it had Colt on the side, people would be singing their praises. People would be like, "Oh my!" and they'd be paying three times. Let's just put it this way, guys. I know there's a lot of TSOS fans in here who've been converted. And again, let me say this: you and I both were never sent any free guns from TSOS or any. We've paid our own money. So I went out on a limb. I actually, do you know the channel? Um, HR Funk.
Yeah, awesome
Yes.
channel.
So I saw his video on the Raider and I was like, oh, I gotta get one. I didn't, it was before he even came out with, I think he did a 600 round review afterwards. Before he came out with that, I went out and I ordered it. I was like, fantastic, an M45 clone. Because again, like I said, I'm not paying that much money for a Colt at the time. So I bought it, shot it, and I'm like, this is fantastic. So I went out there on a limb, bought it with my own money, just like you did. And it had nothing but fantastic experiences with them. I think they're struggling, like a lot of companies, to build up their name. If it said Colt on the side, people would pay $1,200+ for that $350 gun.
Yep.
And it comes with all the accoutrements, all 2 magazines. Say what you will about the magazines, at least come with 2. Every single freaking Colt I've bought up to this point has come with 1 magazine. 1. And the
That's
only
very
reason you do
frustrating.
that is because you're trying to be cheap.
Yep.
That probably frost my ass more than anything else with Colt. You pay all this money. I bought that 38 Super Competition one. It looks like somebody hogged on the damn barrel hood with a friggin' with a hand file.
Yeah.
And you sent, and it was over 2K once there was a bunch of, pay for transfer, shipping, all that other kind of stuff. And it came with 1 38 Super Mag. 1. Like, you can't throw it extra. It came in, you open the blue plastic box, it comes with 1 mag. You're like, what is this? You get the Tisas, you get cleaning brushes, you get barrel, bushing wrench. You usually get 2 sets of grips almost with every single freaking pistol. You get 2 sets of grips,
Yeah.
just about.
It's
So it's
wild.
like,
And a good case, by the way. The
and a
case
good case.
it's actually a good case.
It
Yeah.
is.
A lot of those
Sure.
cases, man, I'll be honest, I throw them right in the garbage. I think they're trash. Like HK, like I just traded with Pete, the 45 ACP guy. He's one of the patrons. I just traded with him for the HK 45 for another
Nice.
gun, and love that gun. But like I'm looking at the box, and there's no like pockets, there's no foam. It's just an empty plastic box, and I'm like, really? All this German elitism with HK, and they can't even make a
Because
good
they
box.
hate you. You are not German. You are not from Deutschland. So
Right.
you wouldn't understand, And then it's super, super overly engineered. You're like, you could have done the same mission with just, never mind. It's got to be
Yeah,
German. So yeah.
yeah.
But I love HK too. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Um, I did want to go to something Jolly said. So Jolly Roger, he has a pile of Colts, and he's got some good old ones. In fact, he's got a pre-war that'll make you cry. And so does Matt, another one of the
Yes.
guys in the chats here. But he has a really good, firm grasp of the older Colts, right? The good ones. And he said this comment. He said, Tisas is the Colt of 50, 60 years ago.
I
And
believe it.
I think that's a great way to say it. That like back then, I was looking at a Colt, and I'm not going to say where it was because I don't want anybody to go buy it.
Right.
But because I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I was looking at a Colt from the late 60s. And I'm like, the gun was pretty rough. Like it's pretty ragged out. Like externally, it looks like it's been carried a lot. But I'm like, I'll bet if I bought that Colt, I could put 10,000 rounds through it and not blink.
Yeah.
Right. But now that's Tisas now. I mean, like my blue has become very popular on my channel. That gun that I reblued. That gun's got creeping up on 3,400 rounds through it. You would never know.
I only put 175 through mine. I was showing you this earlier, and it bit the hell out of me. So still,
Yeah.
but
Oh
I
man.
show in the
Yeah.
video. Spoiler alert! I show in the video though.
Yeah.
If we remember, they're called handguns, not hands guns. So they were originally, especially back in 1911. All right, let me give a little bit of history, guys.
Let's go.
In 1911, when the gun was adopted by the military in 1911, they still had horses in their army. Okay, it was meant to be fired almost completely one-handed, safeties on, all that kind of stuff. Of course, reloaded you had to do too, but they wanted to be able to easily operate off a horseback one-handed. They used to shoot one-handed. They also used to put their thumb. A modern day grip for a lot of us is thumb on the safety. So
Yep.
if you got fat hands like me and you got a lot of meat, it'll bite you right there. But in the video, I shoot it both ways. I shoot it thumbs up, and then I go, okay, now I'm gonna fire a mag with the thumb down here, like they used to shoot back in the day. And your hand is pretty much, and it did not bite me as much. It still did a little bit, but
Yeah.
not as much. So if you shoot the gun, in this particular case, the World War II version, the way they were taught to shoot it one-handed with your thumb down off the safety,
Yeah.
it's you can say, you say, okay, I understand why they made it now. And I understand why now the modern 1911s have the big swept comfortable beaver tails and the fat, especially the competition guns will have the fat wider thumb safeties to kind of
Mm-hmm.
act as a gas pedal if you shoot the thumbs forward one. But if you shoot it the way they designed it back in the day, it makes total sense.
It does. And I shoot I would say I probably 75% of the time shoot one-handed.
Mm.
So if you remember the Colonel Jeff Cooper quote, any man who masters the pistol will own everything he sees with a rifle.
Yes.
I believe that's true as
100%.
well. Yeah, I believe that's true as well. If you can master one-handed shooting, two hands is cake. And so that's why the majority of the time I'm shooting one-handed. It's not just to be old school, but it's like, look, man, shoot, let's say just 250 rounds one-handed at range, by the way, none of this 3-yard stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Something I appreciate about you too is you're always backed up. I don't like these channels where it's like, just go ahead and stick your muzzle through the target and shoot. Back 3 yards is nothing, man. But back up. Now, throw a mag in and use two hands. You're going to be like, I'm basically dead shot.
Yeah.
Like you're going to shoot so well. So yeah, but no, it's absolutely true, man. Like I put out a video months ago because a lot of people were like, oh, GIs are too hard to shoot. I'm like, I think it's how you're shooting them.
Mm-hmm.
Because to your point, yeah, it is a hand gun. And also I think people don't they kind of poo-poo the whole one-handed shooting thing. You can be quite effective, quite quick, and at range. I mean, like I've got a video shooting the Springfield SA-35.
Yeah,
I'm at 45
I got one of
yards.
those. It's fantastic.
Awesome. After you get through the broken extractor, it's awesome. But I'm shooting it like 40, 45 yards. And I mean, I think I went 15 rounds in a row, and I'm not shooting slow. I'm like, bing, 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 bing. Like, so you can absolutely do it. Of course, it's anecdotal, but Alvin York.
No, you're 100% right. And every expert, and it's been my experience too. Because a handgun is so hard to shoot.
Yeah.
If you can master a handgun, shooting a rifle is really easy. And the same goes for what you were saying, one-handed, two-handed. Here's a little tip I used to use back in the day when I was shooting a lot of IDPA, USPSA, stuff like that. More IDPA because they would implement this in the club I was shooting in. Weak-handed shooting. I said to myself, nobody ever practices weak hand because I used to help run those, used to RO those. And every time it came to weak hand, people just fell apart. Their match would fall apart. So I started practicing weak hand. I would go to the range and I'd be like, I'd fire 50 rounds strong hand, 50 rounds weak hand, and then do whatever I was doing before practice reloads, whatever. I had a whole regiment. And I got good enough at weak hand where I was at least able to hit the target, And right there, a lot of times I would win or beat the guys in my division or whatever. I knew if there was a weak hand stage, I would look and I'd be like, ha, weak hand. I got majority of guys here because they'd be like, they'd never practice. Bang, bang, never. And you'd hear them be like, I hate shooting weak hand. I'm never going to practice. And they'd be like, yeah, keep doing that. And I would go out and practice weak hand and just,
Yeah.
So same type of stuff. Practice single hand. Also, it's good to practice from a defensive pistol situation. What if, I know a lot of people have these fantasies that they're going to get in a gunfight and they're going to win and they're going to come out unscathed. What if you are shot first anywhere in your arm and you have to fight one-handed or shoot from attention or whatever? So you got to practice that stuff, man. You
I
is that stuff
this is another thing. I just had this discussion with somebody in my comments on a video the other day. They're like, you shoot one-handed a lot. They're like, they were criticizing me. They're like, do you not shoot pistols much? And I'm like, here's the deal. I took a pistol class just like as a refresher. I like to do that every once in a while. About 3 weeks ago. Because I think it's good for us to subject ourselves to somebody else.
You
like
have to do the hard stuff.
Yeah, like let somebody else critique you and
absolutely.
And so I took this pistol course and it was great. The people there were fantastic. But in that they had the T-Max X drill. Are you familiar with that one?
No.
Basically, you have 4 cones set up in a square, 1 cone in the middle. If you're on the middle cone, you can shoot with 2 hands. But if you're on the right cones, front or back, you have to shoot with the right hand. If you're on the left cones, you got to shoot with the left hand. And you're bouncing back and forth between right, center, left, center.
Do they tell you which one to go to? Or
no, they give you a pattern where it's like center, front, center, right, rear, center, front, left. Anyway, you do this pattern, and there's a lot of transitions. There's a lot of like, okay, safety on, transition to this hand, safety off. So you got to reach around with that thumb because I don't do ambi safeties. But in that drill, I smoked the rest of the class. Same thing, because first of all, nobody shoots two-handed or nobody shoots one-handed.
Yep.
For me, I'm at home, like no problem. But particularly with the left hand, I mean, you could see people really struggling, and it's like, man, that's where you have to live. You really got to spend a lot of time on those things. And also, here's a good one. Reload your pistol with your left hand. Like everything feels backwards.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So
it does.
But again, when you go back to the normal stuff, you go back to your dominant hand, 2 hands, you're going to be like, oh, this is so easy.
You can smoke it. You're like, this is easy.
Yeah.
I also think a lot of people who don't shoot a lot may not experience this. I'm sure you have, especially a lot of people that shoot a lot of competition. Some days you will just be off. You don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. You don't know why. There have been days I have shot matches, and of course, typically I won in my division when this happens to me, where I'm like, I can't freaking miss. I can't miss if I wanted to. It's just everything's falling into place, and you're just like, I can't miss. This was fantastic. And then the next week or next month, you're just falling apart. You're like, I can't hit. What is going on? It's the same gun, same ammo, same person. And I'm falling apart. I cannot hit. I don't know what it is. It's almost like that movie back in the day with Kevin Costner, where he's a golf player and he had a hitch in his swing or whatever. He couldn't figure it out. It was the same type of stuff. I was like, I can't hit a damn thing. I suck. What is going on here?
I had that the other day shooting that new Tisas, and I left the shooting footage in with me absolutely just crapping the bed left-handed. Oh man, I think out of a 7-round mag, I hit 1 shot left-handed. I left it in. Like, I'm not trying to, what is the word that the kids say now? Glaze myself.
Try to glaze.
Yeah. Like, hey, I have bad days. That was a bad day for the left hand. But
I did. Barron said, I want to talk. He had a Colt M45 in the shop, same time as his Raider. Seriously, Raider was better, and the Colt was a custom shotgun. 100%. That's, I believe him. The other thing about the M45A1, which a lot of people don't know, is, and I don't know why they did this. Maybe somebody knows. The rail was, I'm not going to say out of spec, but it was a different spec. It wasn't
its own thing.
It was its own thing. So what was the point of that? Like, and I know they had that early finish issues where it would just come right off within months. The guns looked like they were found in a shipwreck or something. So I don't know what.
You've seen Full Metal Jacket, right?
100%.
I love that movie. Which, by the way, my dad just texted me. My dad's watching, so hey, Dad.
Oh, nice.
But,
what's up?
That movie, I quote Full Metal Jacket a lot. But there's a line in there. He goes, "Oh, so you just want to be different, right?" That's Colt. It's like, you just want to be different. There's no. It's the same thing. Like, I get annoyed with Glock and their little, their rail. It's like, just put a regular rail on there, because now here's what I have to do. All my lights have to have that stupid Glock rail adapter on there.
Yep.
And then when I go put it on a proper rail system, it's all loosey goosey, right? So everything has to adapt to Glock. It's
I know
annoying.
exactly what you're talking about. I tried to put this little laser light thing on there the other day, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't have the rail, and I don't know where the Glock rail part is. I don't know where the little. I'm like, of course, of course. So you put it on there, and I mean, it'll hang on there, but it'll move under recoil, or
Yeah,
you can wiggle it back and forth. It's like, oh Lord,
it's annoying.
yeah, it is. It's super annoying with that. But yeah, I think getting back to Tisas, I think they are. I'm excited to see where they're going. They're
Hmm.
making a lot of great stuff. They are making some really nice high power clones too, under the English name
Mm.
and stuff like that. I think, don't quote me on this. I'd have to go check, but I think they even have like my favorite looking. I've never shot one. Is I think it's the Canadian one, the English with the adjustable rear sight, the ladder sight, one on the
Yes.
back.
Yeah,
That
I
thing
love
looks
those too.
those look so cool. I think they're even making one of those. If not, they should. But they have one that is like color case hardened. They got
Hmm.
stainless ones. They got all kinds of stuff. And buy guys in the stream, get them now while you can, because in the next few years the prices, and I think that's probably their business model, where they
Yes.
build the guns to such good quality that they're a steal essentially,
Yep.
and they're going to start creeping the prices up and up and up and up, much like Hollow Sun did. Again, we talk about Hollow Sun a lot, or Canic. We're seeing it with Canic. The Canic, what's that thing called? Meta MC Prime or Meta Prime,
Yeah.
whatever it is. They debuted it at the last SHOT Show. It was an all made in America gun, and I want to say that thing's like 657, somewhere it
Mm.
plays around in that range. Um, and That's a far cry from where Canic was when they were just doing the Walther clones early on, and they were $199 from back in
That's
the day,
crazy. Yeah.
and now, like we said, they got the Terran ones. So they have the whatever those other uh, fully metal competition guns, which are like $700-800. So they're gonna, I believe, TSOS is tapped into. Uh, if I was personally advising them or running them, I'd say, listen, we've tapped into the American nostalgia firearms market,
Yes.
especially with these 1911s. Let's put out a true to form 1911 wide spur hammer, short grip safety, flat smooth mains. Let's make a freaking exact copy, and
Yeah.
even make if you want to fake it, roll marks or something on there. Put a frog instead of a horse on there or something. Do something. But make it beautifully blued. Make it,
Yeah.
I think they would just sell those like hotcakes. They wouldn't be able to keep them.
Oh man.
You know.
No, I think here's what I think they should do. First of all, it's got to be blued. I think you said
Yes.
that. Yeah, it has to be blued. I do not want a Parkerized pre-war gun. It needs to be blue.
Yes. Yes.
So needs to be blued. But here's how I think they could get away with it. They could do the same thing on the frames where they do like the United States property, blah blah blah.
Yes. Yes.
But really, I don't even care about that. If they would just keep the left side of the pistol blank,
Yes.
nothing on it, but on the right side, do the old commercial text that says caliber 45 automatic, right? And it spells caliber funny, where it's like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know what
Like
I'm talking about?
RE instead of ER or
That's
whatever.
right. That's right.
Calibre or whatever. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
If they did that, blued 1911, very plain looking, but just have some basic, you know, uh, 45 caliber automatic.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I would pay $1,200 for that right away, right now, and built the right way. Now, to your point though, I do agree. I think they're, they're trying to, like you said, establish their name, get their reputation out there, which they're doing a great job of doing. And look, because we see these tangible improvements in their build quality, their finish qualities, the actual tuning that a human being is doing, and we haven't seen their prices rise, that tells me this is a move. Let's get good guns out. Let's figure these out. Let's build them and get people really happy. And then once we start grabbing market share, we'll make up the money back on the back end.
Yes.
So I do think, because man, you got to think they're selling these guns to us on sales for $320. What's Palmetto paying for them?
Right.
So that means maybe what in a pistol they've got $120 in a manufacturing cost, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm with you. That's why I've bought a couple of them, because I'm like, the day's coming when and look, here's the deal. If tomorrow Tisas was, a basic Remington Rand Tisas was $600, I'm not going to be happy about it, but are they worth it? Absolutely.
Yep.
Like, no question. Nobody's doing it better.
Yep.
Hands down.
Yeah. The problem with that is I think, like you said, they're being very smart about that. I think the problem with when you start creeping up into the $600-700 range for some of these pistols, people will say, because they still have it in their head as Colt, 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 Colt. People will say, well, I could just get a classic Colt for $850. Sometimes you can get those on sale for $799, $850. And in their heads, they're like, I'll pay an extra $100, $150 for the Colt name.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I watched one of these videos talking about Eli. He said he was like at his friend's house or whatever, and his father had this beautiful old Colt, and he's like, well, you got to get a Colt. You got to get a Colt, and that's where a lot of that came from back in the day.
Yeah.
Is you want a 1911, it's got to be a Colt. You
Yeah.
can't have anything else but a Colt, and that's mostly because that's all there was Colt. Any custom guns were built off of Colts. All these Swenson customs and the Novaks and all these famous gun builders were only building off a Colt back then because that's
Yep.
all there was. I'm kind of curious. That now makes me think, when was the first off-brand, like let's say copy 1911 made? By which company and who was it?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I will say it's, so I have a story. There was a friend of mine who, he's a hunter. He loves shooting all sorts of things, deers and pigs and all sorts of stuff. And he was carrying around a 380 for a coup de grace, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, man, I'm emptying a whole mag in this deer's face and it's not dying. And I'm like, I said, well, your first, I know. And I said, well, that's your first problem.
Yeah.
You need a 45.
Yeah.
And what is the first thing he said? He's like, yeah, I've been thinking about getting a Colt. Right. It's not even, and granted, he's not like a super gun guy.
Right.
He looks at them as kind of like shovels, they're just tools. But in his mind, he thinks 1911, yeah, I should get a Colt. And he sent me a screenshot of the Colt Classic. And he's like, oh man, I'm going to get one of these. And I said, well,
whoa.
Hold on. I said, and I let him see my Mark IV. And I told him all the problems I've had and all that. And I just said, man, if it were me, and I sent him Tisas, he ended up going with the Tisas, and he's thrilled with it. He got the Cerakote version, and he's like, man, I'm glad you steered me this way, because he's like, I was stomping out in the woods, and I think he got a tag up there in Montana for an elk getting poured on, and he's like, oh, it's Cerakoted. Who cares? Yeah. Right? He's not walking out there with a blued gun in a leather holster. Yep. He's going to go pull it out, that evening, and it's going to look like a barnacle, Yep.
So. Yeah. So. It just, yeah. And that's, like you said, and they're perfect for people that treat them like shovels. Now, guys like you and I and a lot of people in the chat, stuff like that, they'll look at them as a work of art. So much more than just a firearm or just a shovel or a tool. That to me is what Glocks are. Glocks are like, you can pass down a Glock to your kid. I mean, I guess you could, but it's like, there's just tons of them of the tactical Tupperware. And again, that's not saying they're not great. They're fantastic for what they do. But if you want like a work of art, an expert's pistol, it's a 1911.
Yeah.
And if you seriously want to save money and you don't care about brand name at all, go with the Tisas, man,
Yeah.
because it's just there's just so much evidence and so many people putting their hands on the guns that, and another brand I would say is like we talked about earlier, Kimber. Go with Kimber. If you got a couple extra $100 and you want a modern looking 1911, I think Tisas, they got a lot of modern looking ones too, and they're killing it in that game. But if you want a modern looking, really nice one, and you want to spend anywhere from, I know I've heard people say 550 to 750, go with the Kimber, man.
And that's a good point. If somebody, and this is something I would like to do. I've been thinking about this. If somebody was going to ask me, well, hey, what about the whatever model from Tisas looks like a Kimber Custom 2, right?
Right.
Which one should I go for? They're about the same price. I'm going Kimber.
Yeah.
Very simply because, okay, they're both well-built guns. The quality of materials is good. The build quality is good. Like, all that's there. But what you have with the Kimber is there is a fine tuning. The triggers on those don't even come close to anything Tisas does, or vice versa. The Schwartz grip safety Series 80 system, I'm actually a big fan of. I think it's brilliant. I love those.
Yes.
The barrel fit, outstanding. The thumb safety, like, you just go down the list, like, they, apples to apples. I think that the Kimber is going to be a much nicer gun from the end user experience. And even if it's $100 more, I would probably still go with the Kimber at that point.
Yeah.
Just because, man, you shoot them and it's just like, I mean, the last time I went out to the range, and you know how this is. You go out to the range and it's like, there's business. I've got to film, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you go out there and you got to get all that done. But then what I try to do, if I have time, is I bring like an ammo budget just for me, where it's like, phone goes in the truck. I don't want to capture anything. I just want to enjoy myself. And the last time I went, I shot my Colt. I brought the Kimber. I brought like 5 1911s, and the Kimber's the one. Like, I had loaded mags for each gun I wanted to shoot. By the time I got like the third gun, I'm like, I'm just gonna shoot all these through the Kimber.
The
Like,
Kimber.
it's
Yeah.
so nice, I think they're fantastic.
Here's the other thing I like to do, and I think you're the same way, and Baron, and a lot of YouTube guys like to do this, is I don't want to hear the chatter from what other people's experiences are, good or bad. Either
Yeah.
way, I want to try, if possible, I want to try to experience it for myself. So when
Yes.
people are like, Tisas is shit, I'm not going to, I'm like, well, let me go see what. And I buy some of them and I go, these are great. And I buy some more and I'm like, they're great. And I buy up like 14 or 15 and I'm like, they've all been great, especially
Yeah.
for the money, especially when you cut them on deals, you catch them on deals. And then people are like, got to get a Colt, man, got to get a Colt. And I buy a Colt and I'm like, what the hell is wrong? Now, most people, again, if you're living in that 80% where most people fire seriously, I know a lot of people fire maybe 100 rounds a year. And they're like,
Yes.
I'm for the 2A and I'm a gun guy and all this other stuff. So it's hard for us and the people in the chat to see the world through their eyes. If it works, like if they put bullets in it and it goes bang, and they can hit a target at 3 yards, like you said, a man-sized target at 3 yards, they'll go, my Colt is fantastic. It is great.
Right.
And then you hand it to us and you go, who fit this ejector? It looks like it's sticking out the back and the slider and the thing. And why is there so much movement up and down and side to side in the trigger? And
Yeah.
what is going, and why is this a link rider? Look how much, and they're like, oh. It's almost like a mechanic looking at a car and going, oh, this thing's a piece of
Dude,
shit. And
you literally,
most people just put gas in it and go. They don't worry about it. And a
that
mechanic
is,
will go like, this thing's about to fall apart on you, dude.
yes. So you just put to words what I've been thinking about, because a lot of people ask me, and I have some of these like old timers ask me, how long have you been a licensed and certified gunsmith?
Oh my God.
And I'm like, listen, I'm not even going to say what I want to say because it's mean.
Right.
But here's how I would say it. I consider myself a 1911 mechanic. That is exactly how I view myself. I'm no expert. I'm not whatever.
You never claimed to be a gunsmith that I know
No,
of.
no. I mean, I say that I've been working on these guns for 13 years. That's the truth. Um, so, but that's exactly how I look at it. Is it's like, I have this neighbor, and last night I hear this whoop, 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 coming down the street, and I'm like, somebody's got a flat tire. I see her pulling her driveway, and she's sitting there idling, and her engine's clank, 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 and I'm like, Donna, what's up with your car? And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, I'm like, one tire's a pancake and your engine's knocking so hard. I'm pretty sure they can hear you in Korea. Like, and it's just that most people are not nerds, basically.
Yeah.
But I did want to read this one comment from Larry Dutry. And this is a good conversation right here. If you're interested in this, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I have to go Springfield just ahead of Kimber simply because the Springfield is forged frame slide. Kimber is bar stock. So you're not wrong. However, we got to talk about like what era of Springfield. Because for me personally, Springfield of 12, 15 years ago is not the same Springfield now. Now they're going the same way as Colt. We're getting plastic trigger shoes. We're getting plastic mainspring housings.
Which, let's not be confused, is cost-cutting measures. That's
All
what it
all-
is. It's all cost-cutting. They can
Yep.
save. They figure, and I get it. If you're putting out 100,000 pistols a year, you could save $1 a pistol by not including an extra mag, or even more. If you could save $7 a pistol, you just save $700,000 by putting a plastic mainspring housing and taking away one mag.
I do.
Then raising the prices is usually what they do.
Yes. I say this all the time from a manufacturing perspective. If I can keep a guy from having to touch something just once, and I only save like 74 cents on that move in the manufacturing process, okay, what's 74 cents times 200,000?
Yeah.
Like, yes, it adds up big time.
But the problem is, I think this is what happened when venture capitalists, this is what happened when money people take over a gun business instead of gun people running it. And it's the same thing with cars. It's the same thing with any widget that you are selling. As soon as you get a board that is focused more on money, or venture capitalists that come in, I don't care, just how do we save money? How do we cut costs? When you have a gun guy, you go, no, 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 no. Our customers don't want plastic mainspring housings, and they want two magazines, and they don't want, mem parts. And the people go, I don't give. Then let those people change them out on their own and spend the extra money. But you're screwing a lot of people over.
Did you see the movie The Founder about McDonald's?
Yes.
That perfectly encapsulates it, where it's like you have these two guys who did something amazing and care.
Yep.
And then you got this guy that comes in and all he sees is dollar signs.
That's it.
And
that guy, oh my God, that guy was an asshole in real life. What a piece of shit that guy was.
If that guy was coming over, I'm putting all my valuables in the safe. I don't trust that guy. But to Larry's question though, I'm the only reason I'm going to disagree is, look, Kimber's, they use a lot of stainless, and yes, they use bar stock and all that stuff. But listen, man, they are solid guns. Honestly, they're solid guns. Now, I have to squarely punch Kimber right in the face for the plastic mainspring housings and all that goofy stuff. Like on their website, last I checked, it says that is to cut weight. Okay. So we're going to cut weight by putting in a plastic mainspring housing and then put in an all steel full-length guide rod.
Full-length guide rod, yeah.
Bull crap.
Yeah, well, it's cost cutting. They could probably pick up those plastic, or Delrin, or whatever the fancy name for plastic. They're probably picking those up for $1 a piece, $1.50 a piece.
Absolutely.
Whereas the machined ones are probably $5, $10 a piece. So they're like, ooh, look at the savings. And it doesn't really matter that much. And if these gun dorks like us that are into that, let them replace it themselves. That's probably their attitude. honestly.
Yes.
But I remember our Springfield 1911 still made in Brazil. I back in the day when I used to shoot those in the
Yeah.
90s, they had two-piece barrels. So they
Yep.
had they would screw the barrel and they were made in Brazil, man. And they
Yep.
used to catch a lot of flack for that. They were okay, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, but
They were the M-Bell guns are tough. They're
yeah.
good guns. Um, I shot so my Springfield that I have. I shot out the first barrel. I started to see the first third of rifling disappear in about 6,000 rounds, which is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Now I put in another Springfield barrel that I just bought off Midway. It was literally like $38 back in
Yeah.
that day. Threw it in, no fitting, just plop, and it's been running since. I'm probably at like 14,000 rounds in that gun. But yeah, so basically, I think Springfield is doing some funny pokey business and getting around proclaiming where they're made because it says on the guns made in the USA on their website. But then every once in a while, I've had people email me a picture and they're like, I just bought mine and it says made in Brazil. So honestly, I don't know. I don't have enough exposure to modern Springfield. I go 10, 15 years back, and that's where I kind of lived with Springfield, and I think they're fantastic. Now I do have a couple buddies who got like those Garrisons.
I want one.
Um,
I want a
it's
Garrison.
they're nice, man.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get to shoot it, but just kind of checking it out. You know how to check out these guns.
Yeah.
The fitment was great. The triggers
They're
were great.
blued.
The bluing was
Yeah.
every bit as good as this Colt that's sitting beside me. It's really nice. Very obviously a hot salt blue and a good one. But yeah, for me, I don't know. I've often said like there's Tisas and who's competing with Tisas? Springfield. Springfield is still making a really good gun. I think they're true to spec guns. I think it's a gun you can trust your life to. I guess the way I would say it is they're just very uninspiring. They're
The
kind of blah.
Tisas.
No, the
Oh,
Springfield.
oh,
Yeah,
Springfield. Yeah.
yeah, on the mil spec level, like the
Yeah.
GI guns, they're just kind of
Well, they also
you
do
know
some funky things too. Like I think somebody mentioned putting this Springfield. They put the big Springfield logo on the side. They'll have a mil spec, but they'll have a stainless steel bushing and a
yeah.
lowered ejection port and higher sights
That's
and a
what I mean.
few
Yeah,
yeah, and but then still the spur hammer and you're like, okay, I guess it's mil spec, but what I think if they put out a military, some Tisas, Springfield, Kimber, some good manufacturer, if you come across this good 1911 manufacturer, put out a mil spec 1911 hot blue, like you said, rust blue, blue it, and make it exactly. Just make a clone, just make a copy, put it
yes.
out there, and we'll buy them. We'll buy them all day long.
It is funny. I would love to be in like these boardrooms when they're going like, okay, we're gonna build this gun. But you know what we should do? We should take that one thing that makes it historically accurate and just throw that out the window.
Yeah.
Like I
Let's put
don't.
a giant thumb safety, tactical
Yeah,
thumb safety on it or something. Or yeah, yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
And you could see it with the popularity of the Musoc, of the Raider, of the JSOC. They have tapped into. That's the other thing that's great about TSUS is they have tapped into something special with that.
Yes.
And in that whole nostalgia realm. They want to continue that nostalgia. Man, they got to put out a blued 1911, not an M1911A1, a 1911 with all the things I talked about, the correct grips, the bluing, the longer trigger, all that stuff. Put that
Uh,
sucker out.
yes, and um, what is it? The stippled slide slide release and excuse me, slide release not serrated, right?
Yes,
Go as
yes.
early as possible.
Uh-huh.
The hammer needs to be the thick, long, wide spur,
Wide spur hammer,
yep,
absolutely.
properly textured. Like they know how to look at these details. They know how
Yes,
to do
you
this.
do.
And if they could go for like a 1914
Yes. The smooth
Commercial.
trigger, because the triggers were smooth. They were
Yes.
rounded and they were smooth.
Yep.
Just build that. Every little detail, like you said. Yeah, it's not going to be the most comfortable, greatest gun to shoot in the world, but it'll be fantastic.
But see, even on that note, man, like, and this is, I'll be very brief here because I know I'm sure you want to wrap up, but
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
getting on 2 hours, but yeah.
yeah, no, it's been awesome. So my favorite 1911 setup is a smooth flat mainspring housing, smooth grips, no texture on the front strap, and a smooth trigger. And now a lot of people are like, how do you hold on to that when you're sweating? It's very simple. You're not dropping the gun when you're shooting one-handed. What's happening when you're losing grip? It's your hand on your hand slipping off when you're sweating.
Mm-hmm.
The gun, you don't need gun texture. And I've like demonstrated this for people where it's like basically when you hold my guns, it's like holding a frozen stick of butter. There's nothing on there. And you shoot it and you're like, would you imagine that? The thing doesn't move in my hand. So I'm just not a fan of the texture overall, but
You do a 45 long slide, the laser set. Yeah, make the AMT Hardballer 6-inch. Make the Terminator retro gun, dude. They would sell that. Oh
they
man,
would.
they would sell that. It's insane. They would sell the heck out of that. But
And
somebody else said, put the patent dates. Listen, build a Colt clone. Hell, even put the little acceptance marks on there, right?
yes,
Just leave the
yes.
horse off there. Just leave the horse off. Don't
You
so
know,
you don't get in trouble.
that's a great point. My Cimarron that I did,
Yep.
they have all the patent numbers on there. That's a great point. So you
Yes.
could put all the patent text,
Yep.
leave out the pony, leave out
Yep.
Colt,
Leave
right?
off the pony and the Colt. Yep.
And on the other side, do the caliber 45, do it
Yep.
old school. Yeah, they could do that. They could
Yeah.
absolutely do that.
And they wouldn't be in trouble for that. I looked at your Cimarron real quick before we get out of here. I
Yeah.
looked at that. I was like, what? Because I was thinking, I'm like, who's making a 1911, not an M1911A1, not the newer one, a 1911. And your video came up with the Cimarron one, and I like they had put a different horse running or whatever. But I looked at the price they were asking for that gun and all the work you had to put into it. And I'm like, that's ridiculous with this gun
Yeah.
because it's not even blue. Is it like painted or is it Cerakote too or something? It's a different
Uh,
finish or
it
was it
came with
blue?
came with a really bad parkerizing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, I would not. That gun was just a fun project gun.
Yes.
I would absolutely not recommend it because it's basically a rock island. It's just,
That. Yeah.
but to your point, nobody's making a true 1911. And like, here's the thing: they could take even if they left the slide blank, take the historical, these Remington Rand guns,
Yep.
leave the slide exactly the same.
Yeah.
Just so they already got the slide figured out. The only thing they have to change is don't put the relief cuts on the frame. Don't do the A1 thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's already companies selling flat, smooth mainspring housings. Ed Brown, Wilson Combat, EGW.
Yep.
That's kind of it.
That is. Put the longer, smooth trigger in there, like you
Yeah,
said.
long
Texture
smooth
instead
trigger.
of putting the lines texture because you know how guys like us are, we're like, oh, it's so close
I
except
know.
they
I
did
know.
this and you're like, well, I have to live with it, or go out and source a part and replace it yourself and try to get it to match and or
Yep.
reglue the guns like you're doing, which a lot of people don't want to do, you
Yep.
know, stuff like that. But Josh, has been great. Let me get
It
out of here.
has.
The wife just texted me it's dinner time, so
No, man, I appreciate you doing this. It's been a lot of
yeah,
fun.
absolutely, man. This has been awesome. We got to keep doing this more often.
I'd love to. Love to.
So, all right, guys. Thanks to everybody that super chatted, starred, all that kind of stuff. That's fantastic. And we will do this again. Hopefully, we'll get Baron back on. He said he was working nights this week. So we'll get him back on in a couple weeks, the three of us, and talk about that stuff. And yeah, guys, thanks for coming out. Thanks again, Josh, for being on. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.